Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do beer stuff here. Heady. It's been a minute. It's actually been quite the minute. I haven't reviewed this in 7 years. That's technically not true. We'll get to that. But the last time I reviewed this was 7 years ago. So I reviewed Heady 8 years ago for the first time. And a year later, I actually ended up reviewing a fresh Heady versus a year-old Heady with my buddy Brad. You all know Brad. And then along the way, somebody sent me a mystery beer that was Heady Topper. And it was such a weird experience to drink that as a mystery beer because it just didn't look like Heady, it didn't drink like Heady, but it was, unless, I don't know what the hell was going on. Anyway, so, I go to Connecticut for my honeymoon in 2018, which now is, Jesus Christ, 5 years ago. No, 2018? What the hell's going on? Why is my life is insane? Anyway, bring back a bunch of Alchemist. Didn't re-review it. I swore up and down I did. But I just searched, and unless YouTube's not showing me everything, then it's been a long time. And I picked this up the other day, like 2 days ago. I picked it up, and I was like, oh man, I haven't had Heady in a long time. A little bit of a price, not gouge, but a little bit of a tax on it. It was off the shelf in New Jersey, just under $20. I know you get it quite a bit cheaper at the brewery, but it's like, you know what, I want it. And it is exactly 12 days old. So I get back here and I'm going to crack a can and I go, let me look up my old last review. I'm just curious. And I didn't see anything for years. So I know the mystery beer isn't going to show up because it's not going to say Heady anywhere because it's a mystery beer. But I want to say that was probably maybe 5 years ago. So it's been 5 years since I've ever reviewed it. So I'm curious to see how this one goes. I didn't watch any of the reviews. Down below I'm going to link my original solo Heady, my year-old versus fresh Heady with my buddy Brad, and I'll link the mystery beer down below. And I'm curious to see where this sits as far as how it ranks or how it changes or how it drinks compared to those. Now, palates change, everything changes, I'm a little bit nasally, all those things kind of change. I'm not saying this is science, but we're going to have fun with it. So what are we drinking here? We're drinking an 8% alcohol by volume Heady Topper from Alchemist Brewing Company. They are out of Vermont, Stowe. And we'll read the whole spiel on the back here, too. It says, Heady Topper is an American double India Pale Ale. This beer is not intended to be the biggest or most bitter. It is meant to give you wave after wave of hoppy goodness on your palate. Tremendous amounts of American hops will creep up on you and leave you with a dense, hoppy finish in your mouth. So drinkable, it's scary. Sometimes I wish I could crawl right into a can. Freshness and control has always been my main concern when it comes to our beer. We're committed to providing you with an unfiltered and pasteurized hop experience. I say drink it from the can, not going to do that. If you must pour it in a glass, you may find that some of the hop resins have settled in the bottom. Leave them in the can while pouring. This beer is perishable and at its best when it's young, fresh, and hazy. They're B Corp, solar powered, 100% family owned. And it says, drink this beer immediately. We're always making more. John Kimmich. Kimmich. I say Kimmich. I called his wrong last name to his face, which is pretty funny. Because the dude is mad cool. I reviewed him for the podcast. Again, I'll link that down below too, because it's the best podcast I ever was involved with. More so that he's just a great interviewee and a great person to talk to. And just, walked into the brewery and, didn't know him from anything. And there's a whole story behind the podcast I've told 1,000 times. I won't say it again right now, but I walked in, and I just said, hey, man. He's like, okay, let's go do this. Walk me through the brewery. Smells like weed the whole time you're in there. And, get up in his office and it's like, we're drinking beers, right? And I was like, sure. And crack them open. We just basically just shot the shit for an hour plus, and it was fantastic. Label-wise, can-wise, because it's not a label. It's actually screen printed. Iconic. Iconic. I'm not going to sit here and say, if you show me this, and this is the first time I see this art, I'm not like, wow, this is the best can art I've ever seen. I do find it endearing. It's almost like old school wood etching, a la kind of the way Trillium does their kind of graphic arts. It's hard to see the way I have the light set up in here, but you know what this looks like. But now it's so iconic that it's heavy. It is what it is. As far as the beer goes, and I'm really, really curious to see how this looks compared to all the other ones. Again, camera angles change, lighting changes, all those things changes. That looks like old school Heady to me. Go back and watch the mystery beer I linked down below. That's not what that beer looked like. So this thing has changed and morphed and does all kind of things over the years. I'm not saying it's completely different, but batch to batch things can be different, and that batch was quite a bit different. It looked nothing like this, but it's got that soft haze where you can kind of see, the light. It's hazy, but by today's standards, not crazy hazy. Amber in color, off-white head, just south of khaki. Again, my nostrils probably aren't up to peak schnuff right now. But it's slightly malt forward with this little bit of kind of like beaster weedy kind of grain thing kind of going on in there. Nothing too crazy. Again, the nose doesn't jump out at me, to be perfectly honest with you. Which is odd. I remember this beer being quite a bit more vibrant on the nose. It's really fresh. The place I get it from is really, really good about keeping stuff cold. But again, feeling a little bit of... a little, not 100% schnoz, so it could be that. But it smells like Heady. Let's put it that way. It has this kind of like, I'm from Vermont and I love weed kind of thing going on. This nice kind of like hop dankiness with this little bit of maltiness. It's where like, okay, we're not doing burr sugars here. We're actually doing a based beer. Done and done. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. And it tastes exactly what I remember Heady drinking like when I first had it. Not even when I first reviewed it, when I first had it. It is just... I shouldn't say exactly, because there's things here I don't think are there from my memory. But the core of it's much the same. A ranky-dank, mean-mugging, weedy, danky graininess to it. There's fruitiness to this thing. It comes off actually quite a bit berry for me now. Very much kind of berry-like vibes, as opposed to like a big, citrus over here, or grapefruit, pineapple, or, tropical fruit or stone fruity, all of those things. I'm not saying you can't get that. I would actually go like a nice kind of melony kind of characteristic, maybe a little mango, undersweetened. Obviously there's going to be a citrus component, but there's this big berry thing I don't remember getting. Again, it could be me, it could be a batch, could be several different variants. But it's the way the bitterness really does come off in the beer. It's very, very knee-jerk. Like, I remember that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like instinctual. You're like, okay, I remember that. Mouthfeel was. In today's hazy, turbid world, it's not going to be confused with something that is dense and thick with 4 C's and all those kind of things. It has this nice lushness to it, though. It is aggressive. It's aggressive from the bittering portion of the show. It is aggressive from a... What's the word? I lost my train of thought for a second. From the bittering portion of the show to... vibrance. That's the word I'm looking for. Vibrant portion of the show. But, as it says on here, it's kind of like an attack in a sense. It's a hops. But drinkable. And that's the thing that it really pulls off. That's a really cool trick that it really pulls off. Is that while it is pretty aggressive, bittering, finishes relatively dry, has a nice fruity component to it. That berry really comes off big for me. But it's drinking so easily that it's like almost like super, super like, okay, that's weird that I'm putting this down so fast kind of beer. Yeah. Not sure what anyone else to say, because to me it's not even so much a review as like a check-in. You know what I mean? Like, let's review this every several years and see what I have to say. Go back, review that tape, the all 22 of the last mass of beer stuff. Again, like, I'll link the podcast, all of them down below, so you can watch them all and see how different or see how different I perceive this beer over the years. That's probably a better way to put it than be like how different this beer is. That's why I said the one true thing you can tell is coloration. And like I said, a mystery one, I think you're going to be surprised how different this looks. But I think it's just such a great beer. And honestly, you know, getting this beer for whatever, $14, a 4-pack from the brewery, it's always been just a delight. Pretty all their beers are the same price. You just pick them up. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. It's, you know, what, 13 and change, so $14. And just being able to get that down here, you know, it's sub 20, which I'm fine with. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you're talking about, you know, $14. $6 more expensive, technically, is what I'm paying, but I didn't have to go travel for it. And just to get it, and not to get it as a, you know, maybe this is being a little bit too whatever, not getting it, like, all the time. Like, I get it, and then I can't get it, and I get it, and I can't get it, and it's almost like a little treat for myself. You know, this is more of like a little bit of a love song, I guess you'd say, more than a review, because I'm just talking so glowingly about it and the things I like about it, as opposed to really picking it apart. So that's more on me. So, you know, sue me for that. Don't sue me. I don't have any money, but yeah, it's just a great beer, a fun beer, a nostalgic beer, but at the same time still a very, very, very important beer. Delicious beer, and a brewery I honestly really, really need to get back to, because that was one of my favorite. I mean, a podcast, again, has a lot to do with my perception of John and the brewery and the whole nine, because it was such a fantastic experience. And honestly, the feedback I got back from that podcast was amazing, just from the whole story behind doing it, and the whole everything about it was just a whirlwind of fantasticalness. That it's just, you know, I gotta make that pilgrimage again and go back there. But yeah, Heady Topper, still kicking in a very, very beautiful way to this day, here in 2023. Getting nasally, getting a little bit more Barry Whitey here. My octaves are dropping, so I think it's time to sign off. One of the better double IPAs I've had was like, yes. Mount Rushmore status, yes. Value and availability. If you can get this outside of that area for less than $20, I think you're doing all right. And if you like what, you like this. If you like Heady, you like this. So there you go. Review in the books. Like I said, I implore you, go watch the other reviews. I'll link them all down below. I promise. I know I say that sometimes and I don't do it. I will do that for this video. And just say, Heady, Alchemist. Have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? Have you had this beer before? If you've had this beer before, what are your thoughts on it compared to what I've just said, what I've said previously, and have you had it multiple times over multiple years, and what are your thoughts on how this beer has shifted, changed, ebbed, and flowed over the decade plus that it's existed? Beautiful thing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of Heady Topper right now. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.